Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Hannah Claire Reads. Today we are going to do the first TBR game on my channel. So I got this idea from my friend Reagan over at Ray Reads, and a couple of months ago she used a spinner wheel to determine her TBR, and I thought that sounded really fun. I looked through a whole lot of TBR games trying to decide like what I could do, and this one seemed to work the best for me. And so this is not an original idea at all. Plenty of other people have done this before. I just went online and found a randomizer wheel and typed in the prompts that I came up with, and so we're gonna see how this is gonna go. So this is going to be my TBR for the month of August. Now, I go back to school August 19th, and I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done this month. There's going to be about a week where I'm in Texas visiting my family, and then work is just going to get a lot crazier in August, and I'll be in school, and I just don't know how much reading I'm going to get done. So I'm only going to use the spinner wheel for 5 prompts. So that's 5 books, because I also want to leave room for books for school and any nonfiction that I have to read, as well as any mood reading that I end up doing. So that's why I'm only going to do 5, but I think this is going to be really fun. I'm really going to try to focus on reading ebooks this month, just because carrying around big books in my backpack can be difficult when I'm going to class and stuff, since some of my classes are still in person. Anyway, it's hard to like carry them back and forth to work, and I'm also traveling, and so I'd rather just have all my books on my Kindle instead of carrying like 4 books to Texas. I'm gonna try to see how many of these prompts are going to fit books that I have on my Kindle. I actually go ahead and put all of my Kindle books on these little note cards whenever I buy one. So these are all of the books on my Kindle that I need to read. Some of them are rereads, but that's a lot of books. But I have them like organized kind of by genre, and so if you see me flipping through these, that's why. So I have all of these on my laptop. I'm going to share with you the different categories on my spinner wheel. So I have book over 500 pages, Brianna's pick, so that's my roommate, most recent purchase, a classic, a book that's been on my shelf for a while, a book that I've already started, a mystery thriller, fantasy, contemporary, historical fiction, a contagion book, so that's one of my books for my research, an adult book, and a Kindle book. So I have a lot of prompts, and we're just gonna see what it's going to pick. This is so exciting. It's gonna stop on. Oh, okay. A fantasy. Okay. So, in case you didn't know, I'm not always in the mood for a fantasy. I just haven't been in a fantasy mood lately. But you know what? I do have some fantasy books on my shelf that I want to read. So it took me a second to decide, but then I remembered that I just saw a BookTube video where someone was talking about this book, and it really put me in the mood to read it, and that is The Bells by Danielle Clayton. So I've read Tiny Pretty Things by Danielle Clayton, and I loved it, partially because I love reading about ballet and drama, but that one was really good. So I enjoy her writing style, and this sounds really fun and super dramatic, but it's also fantasy, and I'm not actually sure quite how the fantasy aspects work in it, but I'm interested in reading this. Like, I've heard it described as a lot of different things, and I'm really kind of confused as to what it's about, but like, I think there's a little bit of a competition thing, and then there's some like royalty drama. I don't know. It sounds fun. It's a beautiful book. Like, it's gorgeous. It's also kind of, it's really heavy. It's like very dense. So yes, I will be reading The Bells for my fantasy book. Okay, so I'm gonna remove fantasy from the spinner wheel, and we're gonna spin again. Let's turn on the fun spinner noises. That was so random. So a book you've already already started. Okay, I was lucky hoping that I would get this because I need some motivation to finish the book that I had in mind when I wrote this prompt. And that book is A Map of Days, the 4th Miss Peregrine's book. You know, I said that I wasn't sure how much reading I'm gonna get done, but you know, it's gonna be my own fault for picking all these big books. But I am, how far am I through this book right now? I am 147 pages through it, and I think I remember what's happened so far. I might just start it over, but I think I know what's been happening for the most part. But I remember it was really good, and I love that I have a physical copy of it, but for whatever reason, it takes me so long to get through these books. Like, I almost never just sit down and like read them the first time all the way through. And I don't know what that is, but I need to continue this series. I'm always behind on it, but I know I will like it. It's just big and it kind of scared me. Like, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big book. What am I thinking? What am I talking about? It just feels really big because of all the pictures and the heavy pages. It's like 470 pages. It's not that bad. So yeah, I'm going to read A Map of Days, and I'm finally gonna finish it so I can move on with this series. Okay, so I have 3 more spins to do. A book over 500 pages. What? I did this to myself. Oh, great. What am I gonna do? I just learned that a lot of my books are like just below 500, but I did find one that I've been saying I would read for months, and I haven't, and that is Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This was in my July TBR. And have I read it? Nope. Did I reread Illuminae and Gemina just so that I could finally get to Obsidio? Yes. It's time. It's really time. And this one's like just over 500 pages. And you know, this is kind of like a different 500 pages. It doesn't really feel like 500 pages, but in my reread of Illuminae and Gemina, it did still feel like it didn't need to be so long, but I've heard that this one's better than the other two. So I'm excited to finally finish this trilogy because I've needed to for so long. I'm really hoping I get an easy challenge. I need some shorter books on this TBR. I also need some that I could actually put on my Kindle because I haven't been able to. Yeah, we're just in that situation right now. Contemporary. Okay. I think I can make this one. I think I can make this one work with a shorter book. Okay. So I said I was gonna pick a shorter book, and that didn't happen, but I read so much faster on my Kindle. Like, I fly through Sarah J Maas books on my Kindle. Even books that are really long, I can do it on my Kindle, and I really need books that I can take with me to Texas. And you know what? If I pick a longer book, maybe it'll get me all the way through the Texas trip. So the contemporary book that I'm going to read is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And I just bought this book today actually because it was on sale on Kindle, and it just sounds beautiful. So it deals with mental illness, and it is a contemporary, but there are also magical realist elements, which is really interesting. So I'm gonna count it, but it's longer. It's like 480 pages, but I don't think it'll be hard to read. Also, like, longer contemporaries just feel short to me compared to like a long fantasy, just because it's the subject material is just lighter. Maybe not this one. I think it's supposed to be kind of sad, but I think it's gonna be beautiful, and I'm excited. Okay, there's just one more spin left. This is fun. I kind of want to just keep spinning. A Contagion book! Yay! Okay, so I feel terrible, but I'm actually really not in the mood for a Contagion book because I read On the Third Ward for the reading rush and I hated it, and now I'm just not in the mood to read a Contagion book. But you know what? I'm gonna find a Contagion book and I'm gonna read it. Okay, this was really hard because 2 of my Contagion literature books are magical realism, and I don't read a lot of magical realism. I don't like to read a ton of it. Like, I'm very picky about magical realism, and since I'm already reading The Astonishing Color of After, I don't want to read another magical realist book. So that made things complicated. Also, a lot of them are kind of like teenage dystopian books like Legend, which deals with an illness, and rereading the Lunar Chronicles, stuff like that. And I'm reading Scythe right now, and I love Scythe so far. I'm like 50 pages in, I love it. But I don't want to reread a dystopian series while I'm reading this utopian. Like, it's just gonna get mixed up in my head. I'm just not in the mood. And I also don't want to read a cancer book, and those are that just takes out all the Kindle books that I have about disease. So I'm finally going to get to Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I actually read the first 50 pages of this for the Magical Readathon, and I enjoyed it, but I just wasn't in the mood for this. I had just read a really dark disease book, and I just couldn't handle like a post-apocalyptic boarding school book that was just really bizarre, just kind of throws you into the action. It was a lot. I just couldn't handle this right then. So I switched and I read Second Chance Summer. It was beautiful. So I do need to actually read this. I may start over because I don't really remember everything that happened, and I don't want to like go, it's already kind of a confusing book and I don't want to get confused on like character names and stuff, so I probably will restart this. It's not the shortest book, but it's also not that long, and considering how quickly I read the first 50 pages, I'm not too worried about this, but it's another non-Kindle book, but oh well. So in the month of August, I will be reading these 4 books plus The Astonishing Color of After, and I'm really excited about all of these books as I'm about to drop them. But I think this is a fun way to like diversify my reading while also like challenging myself with my TBR, because I don't want to do like an actual readathon because those are like kind of intense, and I don't want to like feel part of like a community that's like rushing to like complete challenges. And I know like it doesn't have to be intense, but I make it intense and I worry, and I don't want to do that. So I decided that doing a TBR game like this, where with only 5 books that I have to read, I feel like that's a little bit easier. So I'm gonna have fun with this, and hopefully I'll read a couple of other books in addition to this, because there are other books on my mind, but I know I'm gonna read these and I'm really excited. So let me know if you enjoyed this fun TBR game. Let me know if you have ever done a TBR game. I think this was really fun. They're really fun to watch too. Like, some people have the most unique ones, like TBR Clue, the coolest thing ever, and Becca's Bookopoly, we all love that. And so I was like, I wouldn't do one. That sounds really fun. So yeah, this is not an original idea at all. I got it from Ray Reads, and she got it from somewhere else. So we're all just having fun trying to pick out our TBRs. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more content, and I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye.